I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, February the 12th, and we're going to have a considerable carryover on your fat cattle this coming week because never were able to establish the fat cattle market for last week. The packers just thought that they were going to get cattle cheaper because the board was down every day on both fats and feeders. The stock market crashed with 2 days of 1,000-point losses and more losses on top of that. Just a big sell-off in the stock market. Yet your cattle feeders kind of thought that maybe they should get at least steady or better money, and a lot of them thought they would get $1 or $2 higher. And it was just kind of a standoff that never did materialize, and we never did see any trade. Your packers still had enough captive supplies, formulas and things that they could kind of schedule to get their needs covered right away, but unless one of them blinks coming in here early in the week, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But never did establish a trade, and for a lot of those cattle their trade hinges on what the average or what the high was for the previous week. There's not going to be enough volume for last week to hit those marks, so I assume they'll have to trade off the previous week, which is kind of what the packers wanted anyway. They would have loved steady at 126 last week, but the cattle feeders just thought maybe they should get a little more than that. Even though the board was down, your nearby February showed strength there and still holding in there, and with a normal basis, they thought they might have got $1.28, which would have been pretty good price there, and really probably the way it should have been. But if your cattle feeders can hang on this week, with your packers having to use up that much of their captive supplies, they could really be in the driver's seat for the rest of the month if they can dig in. Not sure what the show lists hold. I'm not a big guy that watches your posted show lists because those can change. They can sell the show list, or if the market's good and the packers want cattle, they can always dig in and find more cattle. I'm not sure why anybody would post what their show list is and be truthful about it early in the week, but a lot of ag media really thinks that the show list posting is a big deal. But we've got considerable carryover. There's cattle that were meant to be sold last week and they're still for sale. But look at the board for last week. April live cattle ended the week at $123.62, down $2.50 for the week. Your February spot live contract did show signs of life all through the week there and held up good, ending the week at $126.52. Now you realize that the last established fat cattle trade we had was $126. Your feedlots were not ready to take $126 again and then lose half a dollar on the basis. So they were expecting with a normal basis to be up around $128. And your packers didn't want to pay it. But at $126.52 at the end of the week on spot February was down just 33 cents for the week, and it was actually higher on Friday by 75 cents. And that higher board on Friday is really what just threw a wrench into your packers' plans of getting a trade going. But March feeder cattle ended the week at $146.20, down $4.72 for the week, and April feeders $147.75, down $4.02. But like I said, no fat cattle trade, just a little smattering of sales around 126 live, at a few as high as 127. We had some regional premium type packers sell up, and they raised their bid $2 and gave $2.02 for choice cattle, in the beef. But just not sure what's going to happen. We'll either have an early week trade here and they'll start trying to get those cattle shipped immediately, or they're going to have to sop up a lot of their formula cattle. Box beef cutout values, the average of last week's trade: choice cutouts $208.46, down $1.05. Selects $203.31, down 85 cents, with a choice select spread of just $5.15. Your slaughter was running good all through the week, but then due to weather and things late in the week and on a Saturday that's a really light Saturday, and it kind of killed your total volume. But for the week, 591,000, that was 20,000 less than the previous week, but still 12,000 more than the same week a year ago. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central ended up actually higher compared to the previous week, with your feeder cattle board, both the nearby and the April, down over $4. So that just goes to show you the disparage between what the board's doing and what the cash market's doing on feeder cattle. But you look at your cash feeders in your auctions for last week were mostly steady to $3 higher and starting to moderate out late in the week. Not as much of that full advance late in the week because your markets on the feeder markets just kind of settled down, and we stopped seeing that $10 this way and $10 that way, and pretty much your market for feeders had kind of settled and was trading in a narrow range all over your main cattle production areas, especially late in the week, and I think that's healthy for the market to settle down once in a while. But that was pretty good. If you look at some individual quotes late in the week, Magnus Livestock Market, Huron, South Dakota, had 75 head of big steers, weighed 932 pounds, bring 141.85 on Friday. And Wahoo Livestock Commission in Wahoo, Nebraska, sold 71 head of 760 pound steers at 157 1/4. That's your feeder flash for Monday.